The stars above the colony of Vera Prime no longer shimmered with wonder. They burned cold, distant, and cruel, silent witnesses to the suffering below. Once, this world had been a thriving jewel of the frontier, its oceans bright as sapphires and its cities carved in marble-white stone. But now those oceans frothed with the ash of orbital bombardments, and the cities lay broken beneath the shadow of an empire that promised mercy yet delivered chains. The Drax Dominion, vast and merciless, had come without warning. Their fleets tore through the defense grid like fire through dry grass, their ground troops descending in metallic legions that turned plazas into execution grounds. Vera's defenders had fought with desperate courage, but courage was brittle against weapons born of empires spanning centuries. Within weeks, the banners of the Dominion fluttered from every spire, and the crack of slave drivers' whips echoed across the ruins. The galaxy watched. The galaxy waited. And the galaxy turned away. The Council of Worlds, proud keepers of order, issued only words, statements of regret and restraint. Merchant guilds whispered apologies as they rerouted their trade lanes, unwilling to risk profit against the Dominion's wrath. Even neighboring systems, bound to Vera by treaties and friendship, stayed silent. None would march. None would fight. None would come. Hope withered. The resistance, once 100 strong, dwindled to desperate pockets hiding in the hills. Families prayed not for rescue but for a quick end. Children grew up beneath the sound of orbital patrols, learning to fear the thunder of dropships before they could even read. In the Dominion's halls of command, laughter rang, Vera is alone. Let them choke on it. But the universe is a strange place. Its silence sometimes hides storms yet unseen. For as Vera Prime bled in isolation, as its people whispered that no one would ever come, a signal crossed the void, a call the Dominion believed no ears would hear. But there were ears. And not just ears, hearts, forged in the fire of ancient wars, that still remembered what it meant when humanity swore never again to stand idle before tyranny. The stars would not stay silent forever. And when they broke their silence, they would break it with thunder, the thunder of Earth's greatest armada. The days on Vera Prime stretched long and gray, as if the very sun mourned. Smoke trailed in the skies like black scars, drifting lazily across ruined skylines where the Dominion's banners now flew. On the streets of the capital city, Tyros, the once bustling markets were reduced to hollow echoes. Stalls stood empty, stripped bare by occupying soldiers. Families shuffled past with their eyes lowered, clutching ration slips that might or might not buy them enough to eat. The Dominion had installed its edicts in every square: compliance ensures survival. Resistance ensures extinction. The people knew those words were no idle threat. They had seen resistance crushed. In the hills beyond Tyros, the last remnants of Vera's militia had dug into makeshift bunkers carved from stone. Their weapons were mismatched, some scavenged from the Dominion's fallen, others ancient rifles from Vera's founding days. Ammunition was scarce. Spirits were scarcer. Commander Alaric Dane, once the proud leader of Vera's planetary defense forces, now stood among fewer than 200 fighters. His uniform was torn, its insignia burned off to avoid detection. He kept his gaze steady, but in his heart he bore the same wound as his people, the wound of betrayal. "The Council will not come," one of his lieutenants whispered bitterly as they watched Dominion patrols sweep the valleys. "We sent pleas across every relay. Not even a reply." Alaric tightened his jaw. "Then we endure. That's all that's left to us." But endurance felt like a hollow promise when every day brought new punishments. Dominion enforcers dragged entire families into the plazas, making examples of them for whispers of defiance. Children disappeared into labor camps in the mines. The crack of shock batons became as common as the tolling of church bells once had been. And yet, even in despair, a strange defiance simmered. Quiet, but alive. Mothers passed forbidden songs to their children in hushed tones at night. Fathers etched the old planetary crest into hidden corners of their homes. And in the hills, Alaric's fighters swore that even if they fell, they would not kneel. Still, there was no denying the truth, Vera was forgotten. Weeks bled into months. The galaxy seemed to move on, as though one world's suffering was too small a matter to disturb its endless turning. Until one night, deep within the mountains, a faint signal flickered across the Resistance's aging comms array. Static at first. Then, 3 pulses, a pause, 2 pulses more. A pattern. Not Dominion code. The Resistance technicians scrambled, twisting dials, boosting power through half-broken relays. The signal came clearer. It was not a voice, not yet, just a beacon, cutting across the void. Alaric stared at it with something he hadn't felt in months. Could it be? Is it the Council? One of his soldiers asked, hope fragile in her voice. But Alaric knew better. The Council had sealed Vera's fate long ago. Their silence was their verdict. This was something else, someone else. The Dominion noticed too. Within hours, patrol craft scoured the skies, jamming channels, burning through forests in search of transmitters. They feared signals, feared what they might awaken. That same night, in Tyros, a young boy named Kieran looked up at the stars through the cracks in a ruined rooftop. His mother had told him bedtime stories of ancient heroes, warriors from a world called Earth, a planet far beyond the reach of Dominion maps. A myth, they said. A forgotten cradle of mankind. And yet, as he gazed at the stars, he swore he saw one of them flare brighter than the rest, pulsing with unnatural rhythm. A heartbeat across the heavens. The Dominion dismissed it as atmospheric distortion. The Resistance whispered it was something more. But hope is dangerous. When word spread of the strange signal, fear followed quickly behind. Was it a trap? The Dominion was cruel enough to dangle false hope, only to crush it beneath their heel. Many urged silence. Others, desperation gnawing at their hearts, prayed aloud for salvation. Alaric stood before his fighters the next day, grim but resolute. Maybe it is nothing, he admitted. Maybe it is a trick. But if there's even a chance it is not, if someone, anyone, has heard us, we owe it to our dead to answer. So they answered. With a battered transmitter and failing power cells, they sent a single message across the stars. Short. Simple. Barely a whisper against the endless dark. Vera still resists. The Dominion responded with fury. Orbital strikes leveled entire districts in reprisal. Villages were scoured from maps. Public executions filled the plazas for days. The message was clear, hope would be punished. And still, above the smoke and ruin, the stars shone indifferent. Kieran's mother held him close in the darkness of their hiding place. No one is coming, my son, she whispered, tears streaking her soot-stained cheeks. No one ever comes. But in the silence that followed, faint and distant, the boy thought he heard a sound, a low hum, like thunder still far beyond the horizon. The Dominion heard it too, though they did not yet understand. Their patrols reported anomalies in deep space, sensor echoes that vanished as soon as they appeared. Commanders dismissed them as errors. Admirals sneered at the notion that anyone would dare approach Dominion territory. They were wrong. For in the far reaches of uncharted void, vast engines stirred. Hulls forged of steel and resolve glided through blackness. Banners not of council or guild, but of Earth, rippled in the silence of space. They had heard the call. And they were coming. The Dominion's iron grip tightened in the weeks that followed. Curfews were imposed across Vera Prime, anyone found outside after nightfall was shot on sight. Surveillance drones scoured the skies, their red eyes sweeping alleyways like predators sniffing for prey. Entire neighborhoods were leveled as examples, after the Resistance's message had been intercepted. Yet for all their cruelty, Dominion commanders could not crush the one thing they feared most, whispers. The whispers spread like wildfire. They slipped between cracks in prison walls, carried in secret by trembling hands. They rippled through the labor camps where men and women toiled until their skin split open. They echoed in the silent prayers of mothers cradling children in the dark. They heard us. Someone is coming. The stars answered. The Dominion scoffed, branding such talk treason. But fear crept into their ranks nonetheless. Their admirals began deploying more patrol ships into orbit. Their governors doubled the guard presence in every major settlement. Their scientists pored over sensor data, trying to explain anomalies that did not behave like random echoes. In the Resistance's mountain hideout, Commander Alaric Dane studied grainy readouts from their failing scanners. Strange fluctuations shimmered in the void, mass signatures too faint to classify, but too deliberate to ignore. "They're moving," whispered Lieutenant Kale, his voice trembling between hope and disbelief. "Out there, beyond the rim. Something vast. Something organized." Alaric's heart hammered. He wanted to believe. But belief was a dangerous luxury. It could be Dominion reinforcements, he cautioned. We cannot pin our hopes on ghosts. But still, when he looked to the stars, he found himself searching for that flicker. That pulse. That promise. In Tyros, young Kieran had not forgotten the flare he'd seen in the sky. Every night, despite his mother's protests, he crept onto the ruined rooftop and gazed upward. The Dominion controlled everything on the ground, but the stars, they could not touch the stars. And one evening, he saw it again. Not a flare this time, but a streak, a light moving with impossible speed, tracing across the heavens before vanishing beyond the horizon. His breath caught in his throat. "Mother," he whispered as he scrambled down, dirt on his hands and knees. "They're real. I saw them again. The lights." His mother only shook her head. "It's a trap, Kieran. They want us to hope so it will hurt more when it's taken away. Please, stop looking." But he could not stop. The sky had called to him. And deep inside, he felt it, someone was coming. The Dominion soon learned they were not facing shadows. The first ship vanished near the outer edge of the system, a Dominion frigate assigned to patrol the asteroid belts. It reported strange interference, a sudden blinding distortion, and then its signal was gone. The official explanation was system failure. Yet whispers within the Dominion's ranks told another story. Survivors in lifepods spoke of shapes looming in the dark, vast and silent, blotting out the stars. 2 weeks later, another patrol vanished. Then a third. Panic rippled quietly through the Dominion command. Admiral Veyer, a veteran of countless conquests, laughed publicly at the rumors. "Superstition," he declared. "The weak see ghosts when they fear their shadows." But in private, even he tightened his fleet's formations. Back in the mountains, the Resistance caught fragments of intercepted transmissions, Dominion codes, frantic and broken. Alaric listened in silence as the Dominion's own soldiers whispered fear of unknown contacts. His people crowded around the crackling speakers, wide-eyed. "Do you hear it?" Kale murmured. "They're afraid." Alaric nodded slowly. "Something is out there. And it is not them." That night, he stood beneath the open sky, the cold wind biting at his torn jacket. For the first time in months, the silence above felt different, not empty, but expectant, like the breath before a storm. When the storm finally broke, it began with sound. Kieran heard it first. Not with his ears, but in his bones. A low rumble, like thunder rolling across the firmament, though no storm clouds touched Vera's skies. He froze on the rooftop, his heart racing. And then he saw it, far above the atmosphere, barely visible through the haze of orbital smog. A shape. Enormous. Moving slow, deliberate, majestic. Too large to be Dominion. Too different. His voice trembled as he cried into the night, "They're here." His mother clapped her hand over his mouth, dragging him inside. But it was too late, the whispers had begun anew. Across Tyros, across villages and camps, people lifted their eyes. And they saw the sky was not theirs alone. The Dominion tried to silence it with terror. Their soldiers raided homes, beat civilians, executed conspirators. Yet the harder they struck, the louder the whispers grew. Not ghosts. Not shadows. Ships. In desperation, Admiral Vayer deployed an entire fleet from orbit, dozens of warships bristling with cannons. Their orders: sweep the skies, annihilate anything that dared trespass. Hours passed. Days. Reports returned of skirmishes at the system's edge. Glimpses of vast silhouettes moving in perfect formation. Distortions that swallowed Dominion torpedoes whole. Entire destroyers gutted in silence, their wreckage left adrift like husks. And through it all, no enemy hailed them. No demands were made. Only the silent advance, slow and unstoppable, pressing ever closer to Vera. The people's despair transformed. For the first time since the Dominion's conquest, their prayers shifted, not for a quick end, but for deliverance. Children whispered of warriors among the stars. Elders spoke of an ancient homeworld, forgotten by the galaxy but not by its children. Alaric felt it too. In every intercepted transmission, in every tremor of fear from the Dominion's ranks, he recognized the truth. Whoever they are, he told his fighters, they are not the Council. They are not the guilds. They are not the Dominion. And they are coming here. Kale's eyes burned with fire. Do you think it could be them? The old stories? Earth? Alaric let the words settle in the silence. Earth. A legend, a cradle, a world dismissed by most as myth. And yet, in his gut, he knew. Yes, he whispered. I think it is. The Dominion could feel it now, too. Panic seeped into their command halls. Entire battalions were recalled from other conquests, drawn back to fortify Vera Prime. Orbital platforms were armed, atmospheric shields reinforced. But deep down, they knew. For the first time in centuries, the predators of the galaxy were being hunted. And above the smoke-choked skies of Vera, the people waited, hearts pounding, eyes lifted to the stars. Because they thought no one would come. But someone was already here. And soon, the heavens themselves would burn with the arrival of Earth's greatest armada. The night it began, the skies above Vera glowed with fire. Not the fire of Dominion bombers, nor the familiar streaks of orbital strikes. This was different, vast arcs of light tearing across the heavens, like entire constellations falling at once. Civilians in Tyros spilled into the streets, staring upward in awe and terror. Resistance fighters scrambled from their bunkers, their comms bursting alive with distorted echoes. In orbit, Dominion fleets bristled, guns locked and ready. Admiral Vayer stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Scourge of Galaxer, sneering at the spectacle. Let them come, he growled. We will burn these intruders as we burned their world. But the words rang hollow, even to him. For against the black canvas of space, the invaders revealed themselves. They did not slink from the shadows. They did not dart like raiders. They arrived. Hundreds, no, thousands, of ships, arranged in flawless formation. Their hulls gleamed with a pale silver that caught the starlight like blades. From nimble frigates to hulking dreadnoughts, each vessel bore a single, unifying mark, a blue and white insignia, simple yet unmistakable, the crest of Earth. The Dominion fleets faltered. None among them had truly believed the whispers. None had thought Earth was real. Yet here it was, undeniable and terrible in its majesty. On the ground, Commander Alaric Dane's comms crackled alive. A voice, calm and steady, cut through the static. This is Admiral Rena Solari of the Terran Armada. Citizens of Vera Prime, hold fast. You are not alone. The camp erupted. Hardened soldiers wept openly. Civilians embraced one another in disbelief. Even Alaric, scarred by endless defeats, felt his knees weaken. Earth was not a myth. Earth was here. And above, thunder answered. The Dominion's opening salvo lit the void with streams of plasma and missile fire. But Earth's armada moved like a single organism, formations shifting with terrifying precision. Shields flared, soaking impacts that should have shattered lesser fleets. Counterstrikes followed, lances of cobalt energy that ripped through Dominion cruisers as though they were paper. One by one, Dominion warships blossomed into fire, their wreckage scattering across orbit. On the streets of Tyros, young Kieran clung to his mother as shockwaves rumbled from the sky. Above them, streaks of fire rained down, not bombardments, but drop pods, descending in controlled arcs. When the pods struck the ground, their armored petals unfolded, revealing Terran Marines clad in exosuits of gleaming steel. Their visors glowed faintly as they advanced, weapons humming with restrained power. The Dominion soldiers who rushed to meet them were swept aside like sand before the tide. Shock rifles cracked, rail slugs tore through armor, and with every clash the Marines pushed forward, their discipline unshakable. To the enslaved people of Vera, the sight was more than battle, it was revelation. In the mountains, Alaric and his fighters watched as Terran ships pierced the atmosphere, their engines roaring like ancient gods descending to war. Dropships landed in the valleys, disgorging troops and supplies. For the first time, the resistance joined an ally stronger than themselves. Alaric seized his rifle, rallying his weary fighters. "Do you see?" he cried, voice breaking with joy. "We were never forgotten. To arms, Verans! Fight beside them." And fight they did. Resistance bands poured from the hills, striking Dominion strongholds in unison with the Terran Marines. Villages erupted into rebellion, slaves turning on their masters with weapons scavenged from fallen overseers. The Dominion, so confident, so unchallenged, now reeled on every front. Above the planet, the true scale of Earth's might unfolded. From the heart of the fleet emerged a vessel larger than anything the Dominion had ever built, the TAS Titanus, Earth's flagship, a supercarrier whose shadow eclipsed entire cities below. Its hull shimmered with layered shields, bristling with weapon batteries. At its command deck, Admiral Solari watched the battle unfold with cold precision. "Target their command flagship," she ordered. "End this." The Titanus fired once. Just once. A beam of searing light lanced across the void, striking Admiral Vair's scourge of Galaxer. The Dominion flagship shuddered, shields collapsing in seconds, armor plates melting away like wax. In less than a minute, the mighty vessel was split in half, its burning remains tumbling into Vera's atmosphere, where they disintegrated into streaks of flame. Dominion morale shattered. Their fleets broke formation, scattering like frightened prey. Terran cruisers pursued without mercy, cutting down retreating ships until the orbit was choked with debris. On the ground, the turning tide was absolute. Kieran stood in the plaza where his father had once been executed. Now Dominion banners burned, trampled beneath Terran boots. A Marine knelt before him, visor lifting to reveal a scarred but human face. She handed him a ration bar, smiling gently. "You're safe now, kid," she said. For Kieran, the words were more than comfort, they were proof. Proof that the galaxy had lied. Proof that Earth was real. And Earth had come for them. By dawn, the Dominion occupation was broken. Their fortresses reduced to rubble, their overseers dead or fled, their chains shattered. Vera's people poured into the streets in waves of celebration, their songs echoing for the first time in years. On the steps of the ruined capital, Admiral Solari addressed them. "Vera Prime," she declared, her voice carried by Terran comms across every settlement, "you were left to suffer by those who claimed to be protectors. But you were never forgotten. Earth has returned, not as myth, but as truth. And as long as the Terran Armada sails the stars, no world will stand alone. Alaric, standing among his fighters, bowed his head. Tears blurred his vision, but his voice was steady. Then we are yours to command, Admiral. Vera will fight beside Earth. Her gaze swept across the crowd, solemn and unyielding. Then rise, Varans. Today is not the end of your story. It is the beginning. That night, as celebrations spread through Tyros, young Kieran climbed once more to his rooftop. The stars still stretched endless above, but now they were filled with light, Terran ships patrolling in silent guardianship.